Commissioner Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to hear from, I guess, someone from the Development Corporation, maybe Mike Edwards or someone that could talk to us about why this site, why at this time.
I wanted to make sure that I could see this board. I couldn't see what we had there. You can, about 2 years ago, it became very clear to us that we were about to run out of property that would work for us for light manufacturing and distribution. We have absorbed at a greater rate, and now we're absorbing at about 50 acres a year. The property we have, and the property we have remaining is in fairly in the West Knoxville places. We have Reagan Road, Hardin Valley Business Park, which we hope will be owned by fall of next year, Todd, I think. But that other than that, we're going to be pretty low, with the exception of East Bridge. East Bridge, we have about 180, if I'm reading it. I can't, but. And if you're looking at East Bridge, it's absorbed very slowly because of its proximity to the interstate. In fact, we're a long ways away from the interstate. The first column you can see here are the number of jobs that are currently in each of the parks, the number of companies that are located in each of the parks, and the remaining amount of acreage. A lot of conversation's been about just how much acreage we have left. Out of the 352 acres that we have left, it's in batches of 7 and 7 acres here and 6 acres here. A single company will take 20 or it'll take 30. So we need to be looking, and it's going to take us from the time really from the time 2 years ago that we started this process. When last summer in June we contacted MPC and we said, we're about out of land. In Knox County we have about 500 and plus acres in commercial land, which includes office and commercial, a whole mix of non-residential types available that we post from our chamber members. But there's property that you use to recruit new businesses to Knoxville and to get those major employers that every community and every economy is dependent upon for those direct new jobs. We were about out. So we asked MPC to help us look, and what we asked them to do is help us find land that we could accumulate and assemble a major tract of land. Almost a minimum had to be no less than 100 acres just in order to be able to spread the cost. But most of these originally were a whole lot larger. We asked that it not exceed, except by most of the property not exceed a 6% slope. We needed willing sellers, as Mr. Valiant mentioned, and we needed, very importantly, direct access to the interstate. Today, we got product that we're competing with. Communities have land all up and down I-40, and I will tell you, Chattanooga has 1,500 acres with the ability to bring on another 1,000 acres that they are marketing with an on-off interstate ramp. And that's Chattanooga. There's a tremendous amount of towns in the South that are every bit as, maybe not as great as we are, but they look, when you're looking to relocate a business, we're competing with them. And when they call, they're not looking at what we could go find for them. We have so long to identify and get them looking at property or a building, if we have it, before they move on. They're really cutting us down to 3 finalists before we really start negotiating with them. If you don't have the land, you're not going to get in front of the prospect. MPC and the report that Mr. Valiant passed to you looked at the entire county and we gridded it. We looked at every piece of land that could meet that specification on assembly, but we really wouldn't know where we were going to be able to assemble property with willing sellers until we got out into the marketplace, looked at those sites, started knocking on doors. We engaged a number of real estate brokers to do that. I think we did it on basically 3 of the major sites. This was the number 1 site, and the broker was able to get contracts, options to purchase these properties. It took us about 8 months from the time we started talking to the landowners to be able to tie up the entire site. Because we were not using eminent domain, we could not talk about any of the property we were looking at publicly because it would run the threat of us, 1, driving the price up, but more importantly, 2, getting other developers out there that were going to compete with us. They could have either tied it up themselves or they'd certainly, go back to my first point, driven the price up. So we could not really start to discuss this until we actually got into till we had all the property tied up. Those options begin to expire next month, and that's why it's been important for us when we're saying that if you're to postpone this vote would be essentially, in our opinion, killing it. So you might as well vote it up and down today. MPC did a great job for us. They did a thorough job. I will tell you that after looking at this report, you will, except for a couple of sites, one that's outside the county and a site inside the county where the owner was not in agreement to sell, this is it for Knox County, and neither of those sites were anywhere near this size. This is probably the last industrial park or commercial park we're going to be able to do in the next, until someone builds another interstate. And that ain't going to happen. So I don't know, Mr. Collins, if I answered your question.
Well, I'd like to ask you a follow-up on that. I think there's a lot of interest in brownfield development, and why take a piece of parcel that is at Midway Road. Tell me the difference between looking at this piece of land versus, say, the Coster Shop, Brookside Mill area that's already developed, that sort of thing.
Part of MPC's study was to take a look at brownfields as well as greenfields. And as part of that, one of the things we learned, and it's in that study, you can look at the parcels, it's hard to find a site or to assemble a site in the inner city where most of your brownfields exist that are going to exceed more than 10 acres. So if you're going to get them, you're going to have to get them in multiple clusters, and that comes. I don't think that that's something that certainly we're not doing. And in fact, as a result of that study, we took the proceeds from the sale of Cisco and bought Baxter Avenue. So but Baxter is about a little over 18 acres. It's a really great site, but it's a limited site. When oftentimes you have to assemble much more than 20 acres to get the prospect.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say is that the Coster Shop, Brookside Mill area that I guess you referred to that as the Baxter Avenue site, the total acreage available does not meet the long-term needs that you're looking for?
Not. They're great plays, and we'll continue to purchase those sites as we identify them, and they make sense. Some of them